So then my question for, let's say if we're talking about some of the structure of these other countries, if they do the academy type of deal, even like with soccer, how they have when you're a kid and you go right up to whatever the national team is. Um, what do you think about the level of seriousness that some of this would be imposing on kids? So you touched on Russia, right? How when they're like kind of a little bit nuts training when the kids are 8 and 9 and 10 and whatever, is it too much? So if you go to a private school of, let's say, 30 kids, and it's like a hockey school where you do your school here, you do your hockey and whatever, are we being too serious for a 6-year-old? Like, does this not go against kind of what we talk about with the let the kids be kids kind of thing? Or like, what do you think of that?
Yeah, well, okay, so it's a really good question. And yeah, I think it is crazy. But people are doing it anyways. That's the thing. So what I mean by that is I had a call the other day. Okay, you know about this call. So someone that called who listens to the podcast and had questions about his son, and I was like, okay, so how old's your son? At the time, he was 8 or 9, and I was like, oh, okay. I thought we were talking 12 or 13. So I'm like, oh, okay. So yeah, don't worry about it. That's like, to keep the story short. It's like, well, yeah, don't worry about any of that stuff. It's not important. Just play, work hard. Things could change. Blah 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 blah. So okay, yeah, I think you talked me off the ledge. All right, and then it was like a couple weeks ago. We asked if he can talk to me again. He said, yeah. So I didn't listen to you. And that's what happens. I'm not carving this person. It's like, yeah, I didn't listen to you, and things went really south really really fast, and I don't know what to do now. So I talked to him again, and but it's still nothing to worry about. He's 9, 10, right? My point to that is that people are going to do what they're going to do, right? So you might as well, if you're going to do it, you might as well do it well. Yeah. And so, okay, so you said the academy thing. Here's what I think about that. There's a lot of people doing like we see here, and I used to put these on until I didn't think it was all that necessary anymore. Was the 6:30 in the morning things, but I did it for a very select group of people, like typically older, for the most part,
higher end older kids,
and not crazy with it. Like I always said, like if you come on once a week for extra stuff, then you get to practice a couple times a week, then you get to play. So that's pretty good intense training for once a week when you're 13, 14, 15, 16. Can apply it to your games pretty good. So I thought that was good. But now you see it's almost like everybody feels like they have to do it to keep up, which they don't. But we can say that, and Wayne Gretzky can say that, and Connor McDavid can say that till they're blue in the face. The parents and the people will still say, yeah, but they'll think that you're not telling me everything. There's something like more is better. And I got it's to the point now where someone was talking to me the other day, and they were saying that they want to come to one of our extra skates right now because their team only practices 3 times a week, and he only has 2 skill sessions a week and plus games. And I'm like, you and I are both like, well, how many days in a week are there? How many ice times do you need? I don't get it. So my point is that people are going to do it. So people will do. Some people can afford private school. Some people don't. Some people see the benefit of it. Some people don't. I've got my opinion with my kid and stuff like that. And some people think that you should get on the ice. Some people think you don't. But people are going to do it anyway. So I would say, okay, so if you're going to do it, might as well do it in the best environment you possibly can. That's a good idea, like a good environment with qualified people and whatever. And then I think like with the academy thing, like EV Zug does it, and they're popping up all over the place. And it's a good idea if you want to like. So what I think about that is like you're putting your athlete with other athletes, which is good because you're kind of more like-minded. So like even off the ice and stuff like that, if you're in the classroom, I'm no genius, but I think that's a good thing that you have people that are motivated to maybe excel on the ice, off the ice, in the workouts, and you get a like-minded person at the end of it. So I think it's good. It's not for everyone 100%. I'm not saying it's good, or I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but I think that's what things are going. And if parents none of us have the right or are qualified to say someone can't make it. the chances of someone making it to the highest levels or getting their school paid for or whatever is slim. But we don't have the right to say you can't do it because that's up to you. And moms and dads have a thing in their head that they think that their kid is one of them. So it's like, you can get upset with them and you tell them they're nuts and all that stuff, but that's up to them. And if I'm going to do it, I want to do it in the best environment possible. So I don't think they're bad. I think they're good. Now, if I was to take my, I don't know how to say this. I was going to say if I was to take my son, I have taken my son, and things have worked out so far for him, but maybe it won't. There's kids that have done these private schools, and they've had extra ice and stuff, and it's for the talented ones. It seems to work out for some and not for others, but I think it's just a function of if you're good enough or not.
Yeah. Well, and I think the question that comes up a lot for me is the balance of having access to other things that are not hockey when you're a kid, right? So if you go to a hockey academy now and it's just all hockey all the time, which it still isn't. Like, you still have your regular classes and you're doing all that, but even when you said being around like-minded kids and all of that, on the one hand, that's a good thing. But on the other hand, it's like now you're cutting off access to the fact that there's other things in the world. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there's the jerk at school that you're gonna have to deal with some point.
Yeah,
in
right.
life.
There's girls, there's kids that don't like hockey,
Yeah.
there's kids that want to do other stuff, and like learning how to interact with that situation, I think, is important. But so are you throwing them down the development path of not knowing other things? Like how we said, some kids, they can't throw a ball, right? It's like, you don't know how to play catch. It's like, you can't play catch. It's like you've only ever had a hockey stick in your hand. So on the one hand, it's like, it is good. On the other hand, are they missing out on some of the other development things? And then where do you draw the line as a parent, right? How do you decide, okay, is this place that I'm going to actually a better option for the development of my kid? And I think, go ahead.
No, you go ahead. Finish.
Well, I was going to say I think that the difference is if the actual environment still includes those other things to the best degree it can, where it's not just you're a soldier now learning hockey. You're in the hockey army and that's all you ever do is be a hockey kid. There has to be some elements of other things in there so they can still touch and see that there's more to life than just playing the game, because they can't pick when they're 12. Like, if you put your kid in the academy when they're 12, it's like they don't know how to pick that's what they want to do, right?
Yeah, that's what I think.
Yeah.
But then, so the flip side of that is, okay, so you look at some of these hockey organizations that we have, and you got a coach that's what's he there for, right? So a lot of them. You got practice times at 9 o'clock at night or 8 o'clock at night, and the kid's 12 or what. It doesn't matter the age; they should be winding down, going to bed. And are the practices quality? Are they thought out? Like, I'm talking the coach's side now. Does the organization help streamline all that kind of stuff? And without that, I've seen you play on teams since you're 7 years old that you never had a coach in your life that knew anything about hockey. So that was like a parent spending, it's a minimum. It's around $10,000 just to play hockey. Right, including traveling and stuff. I'm talking a couple of years ago. It's more than that now. So, like, is that a good trade-off? Like, it's not the best. So, like, if you, in your situation, you were good enough to have school paid for. So, in your situation, maybe it would have been better to pay a little bit more to be in an environment where you're in a school academy thing where you were getting taught well both hockey and school, and that might have worked out really well for you. It might have been beneficial. For my son, I don't know. He was fortunate that he had a couple good coaches, and he had myself and you and the boys around to, like, maybe steer him if he had any questions. So
yeah. Well, and I think the other part of it too is the where it could be beneficial is if you have a kid that really is like your kid, crazy about hockey, doesn't give a shit about school, but they're in a hockey school now. Maybe now you spark some interest in the school thing, right? Where it's like they actually take their education a little bit more seriously because their teacher is actually cool and played hockey before and can relate to this kid, as opposed to whoever you're assigned as your teacher at the start of the year that can't speak your language or relate to you at all, right? So maybe there's an element of that where from the school side of it, if you have a kid that's really disinterested, that I don't want to do any work, I don't want to do my homework, I don't want to do anything, but when they go to school, they, instead of getting the person that they don't relate to at all, that they don't care about being like at all, they have somebody who's actually kind of a role model to them
Yep.
because it's a more controlled private
Yeah,
environment
that's a
where
good point.
that kid
There's
can,
good and bad to it.
right? So I think it just depends on what your
Yeah.
situation is, but it really depends on the quality of what that academy or that organization has to offer. So if you flip it to some of these other countries again, just to get back to that, a lot of their setups, they're incentivized to have that environment where it's like not only is this kid going to be a really good athlete, he's going to be in really good shape, he's going to be a really good student, and he's going to be he'll end up after this is all done being a productive human being, not just we're developing him to be a hockey player. And I think if you put that situation in the best light, that's what you get churning out on the other end. And that's how you can have this small population center like a Switzerland or a whatever, relatively smaller compared to the bigger hockey centers, churning out such a high proportion of good players, good athletes, and all that.
Yeah.
For
Maybe
their
they did it on
population.
purpose. Maybe they did it on accident. Maybe it just they did something that seems to work.
Mhm.
Maybe they had no other choice but to do it certain ways.
Yeah.
But it seems to be turning out a lot of good hockey players. But the other thing that I liked what you said about that is like when we talk about this stuff, like and my wife and I always said this, and we always talk about this. Like we do here with our students is my number one job is to make sure that like if they come to a shooting camp is to help them be better shooters, or if they're working out that they're in better shape. And we not only that, but you teach everything that comes with it. So my number one job is to make them a better hockey player if I can. Right.
Yep.
The next thing is I could leave it at that and I've done my job. But what's important to us is that we leave them with more than just hockey.
Right.
So some people might think that's kind of cheesy, but it's actually true. And it's actually important that you can, I don't want to use the word motivate or inspire necessarily, but you want to be someone that I think it's important that they would like to be like or like to learn from, that you give them tools that they can go and be a better person in life. So it's not just about the hockey players, it's about the person. So if you got them into an academy or one of those settings that we're talking about, if you're around good people that are motivated, in shape, speaking your language, and are good people and push you in school, even though you don't like it, maybe see some, right? They give you ideas on why you should do good well at school and stuff. It just makes you a better person all around. I think that's not a loss.